Us cyclists are all pretty much the same the world over, and we're all obsessed with the same sort of things. Bikes, naturally, cardboard boxes, obviously, and of course, how to raise our average speed. Now, one of the questions I get asked most is, how do you go about doing that? And of course, the answer, like everything, is going to be very straightforward and very simple. If you want to ride faster and raise your average speed, then you just have to ride faster. It's as simple as that. Yeah, in many ways it really is as simple as that, but I suppose the more intelligent question would be, how do you actually go about doing that? Because doing it on your own is not easy and not straightforward. Firstly, we are human beings, and if you have to sit on your bike and push yourself above 85% of your heart rate, that is going to be hard. We all naturally want to kind of save ourselves some pain, and as soon as cycling starts to get a little bit painful and difficult, then our brain just kind of kicks in and tries to save us, and we naturally just kind of ease off. So you need some kind of external stimulus to push you just that little bit harder so that you ride just that little bit faster. And if you do that often enough, then your speed and your average speed can only increase. You could try raising your speed in smaller increments by going out and pushing yourself at maybe 75% of your maximum heart rate, and then when you get comfortable with that, go out and raise it to 80% of your maximum heart rate, and again you get comfortable with that and you go out and you raise it to 85% of your maximum heart rate, and try and see how long you can hold that for without starting to blow and get out of breath. Alternatively, you could try the HIIT method, which is high intensity workout. So you would ride at 85% of your maximum heart rate for say 1 minute and then recover, and then you'd go and do another minute at 85% of your heart rate, and then hopefully the more you do that, the shorter your recovery periods become. And again, that would be a very effective way of increasing your overall average speed. For me, one of the best ways to do that is to ride with people that are faster than you are. Riding on your own is very difficult at times, and pushing yourself to the necessary sort of limits where you need to ride to improve your speed is very hard. And when you ride with other people, you've got a back wheel to focus on, so you're not really worrying too much about how hard the ride is, or how bad your legs feel, or how out of breath you are. All you're doing is focusing on that wheel and just worrying about keeping up. And before you know it, you've developed speed and your average speed has increased. But not everybody is fortunate enough to have a load of cycling chums to be able to go out with on a regular basis. How does Billy No Mate increase his average speed? Well, in this day and age of technology, it's not as difficult as you may think. Even going back to the days when I used my old Garmin Edge 500, that had an amazing feature called a virtual partner. Now what this did was it gave you a virtual chum that you could race against, and you set the speed at which this virtual rider pedaled away and you try to keep up, and the Garmin would then tell you how far behind or how far ahead you were. And again, this was a great way of just forcing yourself to ride that little bit faster. The only problem there though was that this virtual cyclist was just relentless. If you set the average speed to say 25 kilometers an hour, they would ride at that speed regardless of the terrain. So whether they were climbing, whether they were descending, or whether they were on the flat. And they ended up being a little bit like some turbo steamroller. And it was very, very difficult to keep up on the climbs, but obviously when you were on the flats and the descents, you kind of caught up. But nevertheless, the net effect of that was that it was really, really a really good way of just forcing yourself to ride that little bit faster, and again your average speed would increase if you did it on a regular basis. Nowadays though, I think that feature is becoming less and less common in cycling computers, and instead people are now doing things like Strava live segments. This is absolutely great because again, many cycling computers will alert you to when you're on a Strava segment, and so for instance my Karoo will also give me a profile of that segment. It will give me a time for my PR, it will give me a time for the person who's the KOM or the QOM of that particular segment, and it will also give me things like a carrot time to chase and a wolf time so that I didn't get caught. And between those various different virtual riders, you can push yourself up the segments and then again increase your overall average speed in that way. If you didn't want to go out and raise your average speed actually out on the road and prefer to do it in a slightly more controlled environment, you could try doing it indoors on a turbo trainer. And again, you could try doing the HIT method, and that's very effective indoors because you don't have things like wind to compete against and that kind of thing. So turbo trainer would be very good for that. Or alternatively, you could even use something like Zwift, where you are riding with people, real people, in a virtual world. And what you could do there, you ride along at your own pace, you do your little warm-up, and then when you get overtaken by somebody, you can put an all-in effort and try and keep up with them. And again, that would raise your average speed, but the disadvantage there is that unlike in the real world, if somebody's riding too fast, you can't ask them to slow down a little bit. All you have to do there is just let them go and then wait for another rider to overtake you, and hopefully that person will be a bit more at your speed, and then you can sit on their wheel and just push yourself a little bit harder again, and then hopefully that will also raise your overall average speed. So there we go, that is more or less how to raise your average speed. If you want to know how to ride further as well, then I suggest you click on the video just here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.